Hello, devs, and welcome to this episode on how to learn to code. And it has actionable steps. Do not start at Hello World. Let's go. So, I want to share with you some of my background information that I've come to acquire over the years, and and this is going to cut out on a lot of time. So you come to the right channel today. I just want to let you know how to get to project completion to help you for your portfolio. And it's just one of those things that if you have actionable steps, it's going to help you and guide you through the process. So here we go. Step one, answer a problem. Like if there's something that needs to get done that needs a solution, that's where you start. Um, Case in point, um I got fired during COVID-19. So um I first they had to think outside the box and was like, man, what do I need to do? I need a job. Okay, so in order to get to this problem, I had to face something. I had to come to like a defining moment. So here it is. I was at a budget suites because I was in training for this software engineering role. And I was totally taken aback by going into the main office, and they told me that they didn't have a way to notify me that I had a package in because I was expecting to get my contacts, and it was like it had already came in. I was like, then why didn't you tell me that it came in? So so that was the whole thing. I needed a way to be notified. Don't you have some kind of notification system? So apparently they didn't. And so then my mind started going. I start thinking, hey, I can come up with a notification system that helps this or any place. And I'm like, at first I was like, well, there's a lot of places that have notification systems. Like these people are just out of date. You know what I'm saying? So, but being that I wanted to use my knowledge, the things that I had acquired in my training, doing C sharp, the back end of it, and doing APIs that I was learning. Um, Actually, I did my own research. I kind of self-studied on the API bit because I had got fired like right before we got into it, but I knew about APIs. So, but so had the fires going. That was the very first thing, is knowing that I had a solution to solve, a solution to get to. So that's what I want you to do when you start thinking about your project and what um, you want to contribute to the world. How do you want to send your impact? How do you want to produce? That's the very first thing, is to solve a problem, and it's going to give value. So the second step is to really define what it is. You want to narrow or just define the scope of your project, because if you don't, you can be going on and on and on and on, forever, and like really not get into the spot where you have a deliverable, something that you can deliver to the client, um, you know, or to whoever the customer is, whoever needs to use that solution. So write down your story, write down the user stories, the the thing that goes behind it. Like, what do I need to do? Well, I need to be able to um, set up a database. I have tenants, I have clients, I have people that need to be notified. So what do I need to send them? Well, I can send them an SMS. I can set up, whatever to get the message to them, or email. However, so you define the components that make up your project. Whatever the solution is, you want to narrow it down to what exactly you're going to be doing. And then after that, then you want to go ahead and know your tools. Okay. So there's so many different tools that you can use, different technologies and stuff like that to actually answer your solution. So you can get so lost. Trust me, you can get so lost with all the different technologies, all the different frameworks. Which do I do? Do I do Mongo? Do I do MySQL? Do I do SQL Server? Do I do, you know, for my backend? And what do I do to get to this answer? Because there's so many options. So that's the next thing is to know your tools. Know your tools. Make a decision on the tools that you're going to use to get to your solution. Okay. Um, your language of choice. All right. Now, there's a lot of languages out there. You got Java, you got C, you got um, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, that whole web development core. And you have all these different options that you can choose from. Python, that's like, one of the number one programming language that you can use. And it's very, very useful, so powerful. So, which one do you choose? That's what you have to do in step 3. Know your tools and make a choice. Maybe I should have broke that down into 2 steps, but I want you to make a choice on what you're going to do and focus in. Okay. Well, okay. So which ones work together? All right. So say for instance, I'm working on this last project of sending the notification. All right. So I'm using C sharp and I know it can and it looks kind of like Java. I can compartmentalize things and the frameworks that I need, and I know how to tie in the database and doing the entity framework and things like that. So, and then there's different approaches. So use the database first approach. Okay, so I need to set up my database. I need to know exactly, what tables am I going to set up. But before we even get into the nitty gritty and the details of it, you have to know that it's available. Like how are you gonna get into a project if you don't know what's out there? So that's where you do your soul searching. Before you even type a single line of code, you have to define these areas. You have to know the differences and know what's out there and just make a choice. So that's my rant on that. I really do believe that if you know what's out there and then you know what you have, what you need to get done, and then you know um what's out there, you can marry that up and make that connection. I think that's a lot of times people can't make that connection between what they need to do and what's available because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to talk about no hello world. I want to talk about okay, well somebody has already created um graphical user interface ability um through um you know, some tool. I'm not because there's so many going in my mind. That's why I'm kind of like stagnating. But it's true. Like there's so much that you can do. So, so just know the tools and then know where you're going with it. Um, all right. So then the next thing you want to do is just um, you formulated the plan or you have an answer that you want to solve. You formulated the stories behind and your solution, and then you know your tools and your requirements, and then you also want to not do it alone. Who tells you that? You're creating a project. This is your project, right? Don't do it alone. The step 2 is to do it with someone. I don't care if all they do is give you input on how it's gonna look. You don't do it alone. Um, so find somebody to partner up with you that you can talk to, that you can share your solution with. Um, and for me, I'll tell you my personal thing about the send notification is that I actually paid somebody to do part of the code. So I use GitHub. Um, like you saw my last video about how to do the Python project in GitHub. It's a way to collaborate. So collaboration, that is the fourth step in you are learning how to code. Do not do it by yourself. So so that's what I gleaned over the years. Make sure you do it with someone, even if you just have somebody giving you advice on it. And um, just to continue my story about this, like I did a video describing my send notification API. And so I have my daughter, my 17-year-old daughter, do the voiceover. I mean, it's some, even if it's a simple task, you can do it. And then when I posted that video on my LinkedIn, I got like 3,000 and plus it was just kept on going up and I was just like, and it was only like a 10-second, 15-second video. Like how in the world? It was so crazy. Um, but just demonstrating your end result, like your prototype is important. Um, and so it's just important you don't do by yourself. And then um, and then you can start to learn to code. You can find out the different modules, technologies that you need to implement. That's the implementation. Okay. Then, okay, step five. Step five, you want to go ahead and put together your deployment plan. Like, how are you going to deploy this? How are you going to package it up to make it nice and deliverable? And you want to test it so that so you want to have a way to test your code and keep it up. So there's this thing called continuous integration, continuous development. And I'll go over that in a later video in more detail, but you want to have a way to test your code, keep up with your code. After you've been collaborated and people put their own input and contribution, you want a way to package your your project. Okay, whether it's on a website, you're using AWS services or Azure cloud services, however you're gonna manage your thing, whether you use Docker to kind of capture and have it done in the cloud. So there's like different ways that you can basically put your project out. So I want you to focus in on that as well for step five. And and then finally, um, I think that's pretty much all you need to do once you get to the deliverable, because after it you want to be able to continue to keep it up and maybe scale it. So that might be a sixth step, if anything, is um to make it so that you can um, improve on it. So you can improve on your project at a later date. But if you have your solution that you want to come to, you have um, your story written down, how you're going to come up with it, the functionality, you know the tools that's required to get it done. You don't do it alone and you collaborate with others and you get to a package deal where you have an end result in mind and how you're going to um, have a place to just continually integrate it. So there's other things like um, SoundCloud, other different platforms. And so I want you to be able to think about those things before you learn to code because there's so many different options. So I want you to focus in, make those choices about your technologies before you even write your first line of code. I hope that this video was helpful. And if it was, I want you to like, subscribe, make your comments. Let me know if this was helpful to you at all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, yeah, and don't forget, stay hot so I can keep popping more code.